Have you ever had one of those days where you sit down to get some work done, you've got your coffee ready, you've got your to-do list, and you're feeling pretty good, but then fast forward 3 hours and all you've managed to do is scroll on TikTok? If that feels familiar, this video is for you because today we're talking about dopamine detoxing. Because here's the thing, anybody can lock their phone in a drawer for a day or a week. That's easy enough. But what's not easy is actually using that time intentionally to actually change the way that we deal with these distractions. So here's what we're talking about today, the 3-step dopamine detoxing protocol that finally worked for me. You're probably gonna wanna write some of this stuff down, so go and grab a pen and paper. Step 1, preparation. And honestly, most people mess up right here. They go into a detox protocol with no plan, with no structure, and no reason why they're even doing it. It's like deciding to run a marathon tomorrow without any training. Look, you could probably do it, but I guess you'd probably collapse after the first kilometer or two. So preparation has 3 parts: purpose, cutting, and duration. Purpose. I've been caught in the self-help sphere for over 10 years now, and there's one thing that I've noticed about people that make lasting changes. Things like giving up smoking or starting an exercise routine. They don't necessarily focus on the goals, they focus on what would happen if they didn't change, what would the consequences be. They could clearly see what their life would be like if they didn't take action. For example, not being able to play with their kids, or not being able to walk up the stairs, or they knew they would end up taking 5 pills a day. That clear mental image, what they were trying to avoid, was what really sparked the true change. And the same applies here. So before you even start dopamine detoxing, ask yourself, why is this important to me? I used to spend my days on YouTube, on Facebook, on Snapchat, and all these other social media channels. And I realized that these were major distractions. And if I didn't sort out my relationship with these distractions, I'd spend the best days that I have mindlessly scrolling on social media. And what was that gonna do? That was gonna take away from the dreams that I had planned. And there was no way that I was gonna let that happen. All right, let's talk about what to cut. And this is the part where people normally ask, can I use YouTube if it's for educational purposes? Or can I play video games with my friends? Honestly, you can design the detox however you like, but I'm gonna share with you 4 non-negotiables. 1, binge tech. We're talking about social media, we're talking about Netflix, we're talking about the news, we're talking about anything that's pretty much designed to keep you glued to the screen. And yes, that does include YouTube, but only after you finish watching this video and subscribe to the channel. Pro tip though, if you still want to use YouTube for learning, you can, but you just need to install something like Unhook, and it gets rid of all your distractions off your browser. So for example, if you're on YouTube and you wanted to search how to fix a leaking toilet or a leaking tap, you can do so without all those little sidebar distractions that cause you to go down that endless spiral. And the first few days that you remove all of these apps, you're probably gonna be amazed at how many times you'll naturally pick up your phone and naturally scroll to where these apps used to be. For example, when you pick up YouTube and then the recommendations have disappeared, you're gonna be quite shocked, or if not amazed or horrified at how bad these automatic habits actually run. 2, unhealthy sex habits, and we're talking about masturbation, we're talking about porn, we're talking about Tinder. All these things have massive ways of hijacking our dopamine systems. The pursuit of sex can actually spike dopamine levels more than the act itself. So here's a little fun fact. When you're on Tinder and you're scrolling for that next, bird, that next guy to hook up with, that's releasing more dopamine than the act itself. 3, consumables. No alcohol, no recreational drugs, and no junk food. Look, I do love myself a cheeky Indian or some Chinese or pizza, but if the goal here is to reset that dopamine and to reset your brain, it's probably best that you steer clear, because processed foods are pretty much just the shortcut for you to get some dopamine fix. And what we're trying to do is wean off the dopamine. I still remember when I came home from a 12-hour shift wrecked, and what did I decide to do? I decided to get myself some takeout pizza, I got myself a liter of ice cream, I got myself some chocolate that I love melting and drizzling on top, and then I chucked on Netflix. And the great thing about that was I felt great in the moment for an hour or two, but afterwards I felt like crap. I was sluggish, I couldn't sleep because I was so full, and worst of all, it was just making me feel like shit, and that treat that I thought was benefiting me actually was wrecking me. 4, thrill-seeking behavior. This one's a cheeky one. It's things like gambling, it's things like shopping sprees, or endless browsing on Amazon. The thing with these, they rely on a thing called variable rewards. You don't know what your next hit's gonna be, so what it does is it actually makes it more addictive. That's why those slot machines are so addictive, and also TikTok's so addictive. You don't know if the next one's gonna be a hit or not, and that randomness keeps you hooked. So those are 4 categories that you need to cut out. So that's tech, that's unhealthy sex, that's consumables, and thrill-seeking. Duration, and this is the last part of preparation. How long should I actually do this for? And there's no definitive study that says you should do this for 7.34 days, but based on how dopamine receptors work, you should probably aim for at least 7 days. The reason is desensitization. Think of your dopamine receptors like a volume knob. If you hit them with dopamine occasionally, they're gonna stay sensitive. But if you constantly flood them with high levels of dopamine, it's like blasting the music at full blast, or like blasting your receptors at full blast. Initially, what's gonna happen is you're gonna be able to hear all the stimulus, but eventually what's gonna happen is it's gonna become white noise and you're gonna need more dopamine to be able to get that same result. So taking a break from all of that is basically giving your ears some quiet time, and after all that, you're gonna be able to hear again properly. And from what I've seen, 7 to 30 days is probably the sweet spot. Anything less than 7 days, you're not really gonna desensitize and reset your receptors. Anything over 30 days is probably just gonna be a little bit of an overkill. All right, you've got your purpose, you've set your rules, you've set your time frame, and now comes the fun part, execution. And here's what to expect. At first, you're gonna feel anxious, and then you're gonna feel restless, and after that, you're gonna feel bored. And boredom is the hardest part, because what do we usually do when we're bored? Normally, we'll get our phone out of our pocket and we'll scroll. It's instinctive and we can't help it. During the detox though, you have to allow yourself to feel bored. Allowing yourself to feel bored is a great opportunity for your dopamine receptors to rebalance and to reset. Now, that doesn't mean you need to sit there staring at the ceiling all day. Instead, I want you to replace the bad habits with some healthy ones. And with that, I've got 3 habits that I need you to do every single day. 1, self-reflection. And this is the most important one. This includes journaling, it includes meditating, or it also includes things like a gratitude practice. Whatever really floats your boat. The main thing is to stop distracting yourself and actually checking in with your thoughts. When I first started journaling, I was like, what a waste of time. But when I was journaling for about a week, I started to notice patterns. I was like, what do I like in life? What don't I like? What do I want to happen in my life? And I started to notice all these patterns, and it actually gave me an opportunity to not be distracted by all the noise from the dopamine. I was able to check in with my insides and start to build the life that I dreamed of. And one of the most helpful things that I discovered was I was able to have some good self-talk with myself. For example, when I'd come home from work after a stressed out day, I'd normally go to the fridge, get ice cream and eat unhealthy, eat a block of chocolate. But through journaling, I was able to decorrect that, and I was able to go, oh, what's happening here? Why do I keep feeling this way? Why do I keep binging out? And then I was able to unlock my thoughts and get rid of that bad habit and replace it with a good one. So, journaling is a great exercise, and I think it's so powerful. 2, exercise. It doesn't need to be a gym thing. Go for a walk, do some yoga, do anything that makes you feel good. Essentially move your body. The science here is simple. Exercise releases dopamine in a small, sustainable way. It's going to increase your mood, it's going to increase your focus, and it's going to make you feel better, younger, and more alive. And guess what? It's a great replacement habit to replace those dopamine fixes of scrolling on your phone. I would argue that there's something special about replacing the distraction with a useful habit. For example, I remember walking around my office when I was, replacing my phone and getting rid of the detox. And once I got rid of my phone and started to go for walks and really tuning into myself, I started to notice the birds, I started to notice the bees, I started to notice the trees, I started to notice the sounds around me. And the thing is, it was like I was living in HD again. So as soon as you desensitize your dopamine receptors, you can start to live life in HD again. 3, connection. Talk to another human being. Go grab a coffee with a mate. Go out for dinner with family and friends. And when you're doing that, chuck your phone away. I know this sounds like scary stuff, but I know when I go out for dinner, a lot of the times I see families, I'll see 10 people around a circle table going out for dinner, or Chinese, and they're all sitting on their phones. That is absolutely useless. Why? How about I challenge you to go out with your friends and your family, put your phone away and actually listen to what's going on. It's a beautiful thing, it's scary stuff, but it's gonna make your life so much more meaningful. So that's execution, self-reflection, exercise, and connection. No excuses, do it every day for at least 7 days. All right, so you've managed to survive a week without Instagram, without Facebook, without TikTok. Congratulations, you did it. Now what? Step 3, restoration. And this is where most people go wrong. They finish their 7 or 30-day detox and dive right back into the old habits. So what's the point? This is why we need a restoration phase. And the idea here comes from Mr. Taleb's concept of anti-fragility. Basically, after a stressful event, things become fragile. They break, or they become resilient, they bounce back, or they become anti-fragile, they get stronger. Think about Hydra from Greek mythology. You chop off one head and 3 grow back way stronger. So restoration is about coming out of your detox, but coming out much stronger. And here's how we do it. Before you reintroduce anything, it's important to ask these 3 questions. Is this gonna align with my values? Is this aligning with the person that I want to become? Is this how I want to spend my time? And if the answer is no, then don't do it. Don't reintroduce it. And that's the point. Restoration isn't about deprivation. It's about curation. It's about picking the best bits and ditching the rest. And that's how you create a life that serves you. And there you have it, my full detox protocol. Preparation, execution, and restoration. And look, I want to be real with you. This isn't magic. It's not going to instantly transform your life. Good things take time, consistency, and being intentional about your thought. So if you give this a go, let me know how you go, what worked, what didn't work, and how you felt afterwards. I'd love to find out. And if this feels like a mountain that you're not ready to climb just yet, maybe you can work on some discipline hacks instead. And lucky for you, I created a video on just that, and I'll see you over there. Cool, done.